So we've decided when to go. Next up, flights. Welcome Your Royal Highness, I'm Dan. Thank you so much for joining me today here on my channel. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. It's lovely to have you. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you like my content and I hope you will consider clicking that subscribe button for me as well. Anyway, today we are running a little series about planning a Walt Disney World trip from the UK. The first episode in this series was about when to go. Today is going to be about flights. So I'm going to start off by giving you a little bit of generic information about flying to Orlando from the UK. And then I'm going to look at and show you booking my own flights and what I do to get those business class flights for less than an economy fare. For those of you that don't know, I'm looking a bit rough because I've just had knee surgery and I'm currently in recovery, so please bear with the look. Tell me in the comments down below what you do for your flights to Orlando. Do you use package deals? Do you book your flight separately? Where do you fly to? Tell me kind of your own thoughts. I'm really interested to hear other ways to do it other than my own. And of course, if you haven't seen the video in relation to when to go to Walt Disney World, I'll link that one for you down in the description below. It should pop up here for you as well. But that video really goes into things like crowd calendars, weather, hurricane season, and it's quite a kind of useful video in terms of looking at the different times of year to go to avoid those crowds and to save a bit of money. Flights are a huge part of the cost when planning a Walt Disney World trip. And who you decide to book with and when you decide to go really does have an impact on your budget. So flights are really, really important to get right. Now, if you're booking as a package holiday and you're doing it all through one travel company, such as Virgin Atlantic, TUI, British Airways Holidays, Walt Disney World Travel Company, then your flight will most likely be included in the package. But be aware, if you did book it separately and you booked your flight separately, your accommodation separately, you probably could save a little bit of money depending on where you want to stay and how long you're going for, etc. It is worth working out how much the holiday is with the travel company without the flight, and then looking at how much a flight would be separately, booking your own accommodation, renting DVC points. There's so many different options and so many ways to save money. However, if you book your holiday separately, or you book your flights and your accommodation, then that holiday is not ATOL protected in the same way that it would be if you was to book a package trip. So you've got to work out what's more important to you, saving the money and taking the risk, or having that ATOL protection. ATOL basically protects you if your travel company was to go out of business or if you were to become stranded whilst you was overseas. Of course, you can take out travel insurance separately, and if you're not going to book a package holiday and have that ATOL protection, then you probably want to look at having your travel insurance in place before you make your booking. That's what I personally always do. I always have my travel insurance on an annual policy, so if anything does happen I have to cancel, that insurance has been in place the whole way through. There are pros and cons to booking a package, but there's also pros and cons to booking it separately, and so you've got to do what's right for you, weighing up that risk of the ATOL protection and whether you need it or not. For us, in general terms, we're never going to book a package holiday. This is because we're Disney Vacation Club members or DVC members, where we own a kind of timeshare at Walt Disney World, which means that we use our points for our hotel accommodation. We don't pay for our accommodation. We've already paid for it in terms of our DVC contract. For flights, we use our Avios Points, or in old money air miles, so we get kind of business class flights at economy rate fares. We're not going to book that package, but for you it might be the right thing to do. From the UK, 4 airports fly directly into MCO, Orlando International Airport. 2 of those are in London, which is Gatwick and Heathrow. Then for all those lovely northerners that like to go to Walt Disney World, they can fly from Manchester. And then seasonally, from I think end of April through to mid-October, you can get a direct flight from Edinburgh as well. Additionally, TUI also have some flights that fly from Newcastle, from Glasgow and Birmingham too. I'll talk to you a little bit more about TUI, but please be advised that TUI do not fly to Orlando International Airport. They fly to Melbourne International instead. Of course, there's lots of indirect options as well. I'm not going to cover those because there are so many options for connections. We would literally be here all day. So in terms of flying directly to Orlando International Airport, or MCO, British Airways fly from Gatwick, but there is also an option where you could fly to Tampa. Now this will save you quite a bit of money, but it's quite a bit further away than Orlando International if you're going to Walt Disney World. British Airways have always done 2 flights a day to Orlando International and 2 flights a day to Tampa. These 2 routes have suffered so much over the last few years with cancellations and delays, primarily because the aircraft, they use these old 777s that are not serviceable. There's always a problem with them, there's always parts needed, and so it's caused a lot of delays. Virgin Atlantic, they fly from Manchester and London Heathrow. Now they are typically more expensive flights than British Airways, but they are generally more reliable. Delta and Aer Lingus both also fly from Manchester directly to Orlando International, with Aer Lingus having 4 flights a week. Norse Atlantic Airways also fly from London Gatwick directly to Orlando International. Now they are going to be the cheapest option generally for you, but yeah, Norse are a really good option if you want to get a cheap flight. Lastly, let's talk about TUI. TUI offer both package holidays where you get your flight, your hotel, your Disney park tickets, your car, whatever you're going to do all in one package, or you can book your flight with them as well. So this is another option if you want to get a cheaper flight. TUI. These are chartered flights, not scheduled flights, and they're a little bit random as to when they go throughout the year and different days a week, different times. So this might be a little bit harder to work with, but be aware that TUI do fly, and actually you might be able to go from one of your more local regional airports. As I said before, please bear in mind that TUI fly into Melbourne Orlando International rather than Orlando International. So it's just a little bit further away. To give you a bit of an idea, Walt Disney World is 25 miles from Orlando International MCO, but it's 74 miles away from Melbourne. So just factor that in, that you're going to be a bit further away. You're going to have to pay more money if you do transfers or rideshare that's not included in your package. I think TUI do include it, but if you're just booking a flight only with them, you'll need to look at transfers, ride shares. It's going to cost you a little bit more money. If you're picking up your own car, just factor in as well that you might be a bit tired after the flight, so be a little bit careful with that drive. Generally speaking, that's the flight options to Orlando from the UK. I did also mention before that you could fly into Tampa. Tampa is 73 miles from Walt Disney World, and Miami Airport is 232 miles away, so that's a little bit of a further drive. Although I think they might be bringing out a train that goes from Miami up to Walt Disney World. Any questions thus far? Pop them down into the comments. Let's talk to you about booking our own flights for Walt Disney World trip later this year. As you saw, hopefully in the first planning video in number 1, we've decided to go in December this year. A first for us, going in December. And interestingly, the flight takes longer in the winter months than it does in the summer months, because I was really shocked when I booked it and saw it was a longer flight. And apparently it's to do with the jet stream, which I found very, very interesting. So we're going to get more for our money on this flight. So as I said, we use Avios Points for our flights. I'm not giving you any financial advice in this video at all as a disclaimer. I'm just telling you how we do it and giving you some information. If you choose to get a American Express card of your own choice, that's entirely up to you, but I am not advising you do that. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't want to be. I don't want to be responsible for your decisions. I struggle being responsible for my own. We have 2 American Express cards. We have an American Express British Airways Premium card, and then we have the standard American Express British Airways card. The difference is that you pay a fee for the premium one. You pay, I think it's £250 a year for it. I'll find that out next month because mine is due in May. But yeah, you pay a fee for it, and the difference, there's different benefits of course with both of them, but the main benefit for us is that on the premium card you get more Avios points per pound you spend. So that's the main benefit, but the other benefit for us is you have to spend less to get what's called a companion voucher, and I'll come to that in just one moment. What I will tell you is that we pay for absolutely everything we buy on American Express. Some shops and businesses won't take Amex, but anywhere that does, we pay for everything. We pay for our fuel, we pay for our grocery shopping, we pay for our clothes, we pay for literally anything we buy nights out, dinners out, we pay for on our Amex. For every £1 you spend, you get 1.5 Avios points in your account, and then we use those points to pay for our flight. What I will tell you is we pay off our American Express card every single month. We pay the full balance off every month, and that means we don't pay a penny in interest. If you're not able to do that, then it's a really bad idea to get an Amex card because the interest rate is so high. And then once you've spent so much in a year, and I think it's 15,000 off the top of my head, you get what's called a companion voucher. And a companion voucher is brilliant. So imagine if you're booking a flight using your Avios points you've collected, the companion voucher allows you to take somebody else with you for free. If you were to book a one-way flight, they come free. If you book a round trip, they can come free. If you book in economy, they can come free. If you book in business class, they can come free. So it's identical. So whatever you book for yourself with your Avios points, you get the same for free. So we book one person in business class with the Avios points and then get one person free. Brilliant. It saves us so much money, as you'll see very shortly. Now, that said, there are some downsides, and every flight has a very limited number of reward seats on it, and in particular a very limited number of business class seats on it, so you have to be quick, and that's why we book our trips so far in advance. So literally, as the day the flight goes on sale, which is 355 days before the flight, we book the outbound trip, because you have to get in there really, really quick. Normally there's only like 4 seats available on the reward flight. To get 2 of those 4, you've got to be quick. Of course, you know, you can go on a different day. You can go in premium economy. You can sit in economy. It is easier to get the business class seats in the Tampa flight. So of course you could go to Tampa. That was an option for us this year, as was Miami. We did look at both. Or you can change your day. So we are normally very flexible on our dates for our trip. So we'll say, okay, we want to go around here, and then we'll look when we can get the business class flights. So you need to be a little bit flexible if you're going to make this work for you. And the more flexible you can be, the easier it will be to find reward flights in business class. In the last video in this planning series, I also mentioned that there are off-peak days, off-peak flights. They're cheaper. They cost less Avios points. So if you've got a choice of going on a Saturday, which is an off-peak day, or a Sunday, which is a peak day, you'll save yourself so many Avios points by going on the Saturdays. So we also look at that as well to get the most out of those Avios points. Of note, when booking, as you'll see very shortly, we always book the outbound flight first to try and get first dibs when it comes available at 355 days. And then 2 weeks later, we then try to book the return flight and add it onto our booking. If we wait for the return flight to become available before booking the outbound, those reward seats in business class on the outbound will probably all be gone. So outbound first, 2 weeks later add on the return. Of course, it means that when you're booking your outbound, you don't know how long your trip is going to be or when you're going to be coming back. But when it comes to these flights, you've got to be like a ninja. So let's have a quick look at the flights. I actually booked this outbound flight on the 10th of December 2024, but I filmed the screenshot of it as I was booking it for you to show you and talk you through it now. As you can see, this is my British Airways account. In my account, I currently got over 100,000 Avios points, and in the joint account between David and I, we've got over 125,000, and we've got 1 executive club voucher to use as well. So we're going to book a flight with Avios, and then on here we'd say where the flight is from, which is going to be London Gatwick, where we want to go to, MCO, which is Orlando International, and then as I said to you before, we're only booking one way at the moment, because if you look at the calendar here, you'll see that the flights on the British Airways website only go up as far as the 29th of November, 355 days out when I was doing this. Business class, 2 people get flights. It then searches for availability, and it will show you what is on there. So this is the outbound flight London to Orlando on Saturday the 29th of November 2025. So as you can see, there is a flight available off-peak on Thursday the 27th. There's 2 seats left in business class. No availability on Friday the 28th, and then nothing yet for Sunday because that flight isn't yet released. And then on Saturday the 29th, which is a date that we would like to fly on, there's only 2 left. Now these are just reward seats, these are not business class seats in general. You can still obviously get these seats. So there's 2 left there. As you can see, I've ticked it, it's gone green. It's 11:20 out of Gatwick, arriving at 16:10 in MCO. And then we're going to look at the pricing options. So this is just for one way only. Of course, we'll need to pay the same amount for the return flight. It'll be exactly the same when we book the return. 62,500 plus 875. So we're going to go for that option. 32 kilograms, 2 bags each, 64 kilograms each is more than enough, even for me. But there you are. That is the flight that we have booked. So there you are, that is or was our flight booked for the 29th of November. We got those last 2 reward seats in business class, and that was actually on the day 355 days out. There was only 2 left, so someone had obviously got on there and got the other 2 even quicker than I did. And then we've booked our return flight. We called up just after Christmas and added the return on. We're flying back on the 16th of December. Got the business class once again, and this is going to be our main holiday this year. We've got quite a lot of DVC points to use. We thought, why not? Let's have the 17 nights. So yeah, flying back on the 16th of December. The last thing I want to talk to you about today is airport hotels. Now this is a complete luxury really, and something that we don't really need. We live less than an hour from Gatwick Airport. Staying overnight the night before we fly is not something that we really need to do. What we're saving for the wedding and trying to have a little bit of a cheaper trip this time, we did discuss and debate whether to have an overnight stay at the airport, and I just want to talk a little bit about that before we finish. So I get a little bit anxious before we fly, going on holiday. We live in London and it's not uncommon to have accidents, road closures, terrible traffic, and I don't really relax until I'm kind of at the airport, checked in the lounge, and then I go, right, everything's done. I've got no idea where this anxiety comes from, because I've never missed a flight, I've never been late for a flight, I've never had terrible traffic. I have been in traffic, but never so bad that it's made me late for my flight. But I do worry, and also as well, I quite like going to the airport the day before, because your holiday starts that little bit sooner. So to avoid the anxiety of missing the flight and getting stuck in traffic, and to avoid getting up at dawn's crack in the morning, we've decided we're going to stay overnight at the airport. Now we were a bit like, oh, we're not paying £200 to stay at the Sofitel, it's a bit of a joke. And it wasn't kind of completely decided that we were going to stay until over Christmas time. The Bloc hotel sent me an email with a really good offer on it to get a cheaper rate if we booked early on. So we're staying at the Bloc. I don't know if you remember this. We stayed at the Bloc before, and it was terrible. It was like being in a little box. But being in a little box and getting rid of all that anxiety and all those other issues, I think it's worth it. So we got a Vista Plus room, I think it's called, at the Bloc Hotel, which means it's got a window and an espresso machine. It's a slightly larger room than what we had last time. The Bloc Hotel is actually in the South Terminal. It's actually inside the terminal building. So it's perfect really, because you literally wake up, you drop off your room card to check out, and then you're actually there to drop off your bags. £114 for the night. David probably will not take the Friday as annual leave now, save his annual leave. He'll probably get the train to the airport from London after he finishes work. I can drive all of our bags and stuff across to the hotel, meet him at the terminal. So yeah, we booked an airport hotel. Is it something that you do? So there you have it. Flights, hotel at the airport booked. Yeah, we're all set. I will link the American Express card for you down below. I'm not suggesting you get one, but the information is there if you want it. If you do use my link, I probably will get something for it in terms of some bonus Avios points maybe. Full disclosure there. Anyway, that's it for today's video. That's all about flights. Any questions you've got, whack them down below. I'll do my best to answer them as always. It's lovely to speak to you, even though I am sitting here in my sexy deep vein thrombosis preventing tights and my bandaged knee with my crutches next to me. But yeah, that's it. Next up in this series is going to be looking at theme park tickets, how to make some savings on Walt Disney World tickets. I've also got a little bit of a epic reveal for you as well, something new for this trip this year that we're going to be doing. So yeah, come along and join us for part 3, hopefully in a few weeks' time. As I said, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this is useful. Please tell me in the comments if it is useful. If it's not, I'll shut up. I won't bother doing anymore. But yeah, tell me if it's useful. Tell me what you want to see in this series. I'm going to try and bring you along the whole planning route. If you've liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Share it with your friends. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please do that now. Click the subscribe button. It really helps me out. And last but not least, never grow up.